Once, in a faraway kingdom, there lived a noble and powerful king. One morning, feeling unusually generous, he called his advisor, his most trusted man, and said with a smile, "Ask for whatever you wish today." The advisor hesitated for a moment and then said humbly, "My lord, I need nothing. You have already blessed me with much." But the king insisted, "No, today you must ask." So the advisor replied, "If you truly wish to grant me something, then perhaps one small portion of your vast kingdom." The king laughed and said, "Very well. I will give you not a small portion, but half of my kingdom, but only if you can answer 3 questions. You will have 1 month. If you return with the right answers, the promise will be fulfilled." The 3 questions were simple to hear, yet deep and heavy to answer. What is the greatest truth in life? What is the greatest deception in life? What is the deepest compulsion that drives a person to do what they would never otherwise do? The advisor bowed and set out to find the answers. He traveled from city to city, seeking scholars, saints, and wise men. He visited libraries, temples, and courts of learning. Everyone had words, but none had wisdom that felt complete. Weeks passed. The last few days of the month came, and still he had no answers. Tired, desperate, and worn from the journey, he wandered into a small village where people told him of a wise man who lived alone at the edge of the woods. They said he was strange but full of insight, and that his words carried truth. The advisor followed their directions and reached the wise man's small hut. Outside, a dog slept beside a bowl of milk. Inside, the wise man sat silently, his eyes calm and clear as still water. Before the advisor could speak, the wise man said softly, "You seek answers to 3 questions." The advisor was astonished. "Yes," he said, "but how did you know?" The wise man smiled faintly. "When the thirst is strong," he said, "the water knows." The advisor sat down and explained everything, the king's challenge, the promise, and his failure to find the answers. The wise man listened patiently and then said, "I can give you the answers, but one of them will cost you something." The advisor, proud and used to comfort, replied, "Whatever it is, name it. I will pay." The wise man picked up the bowl from which the dog had just drunk and placed it before him. "Drink from this," he said, "and I will tell you the 3rd answer." The advisor's face flushed with disgust. He thought of his rank, his robes, his dignity. How could a man of his status drink from a dog's bowl? For a moment, pride burned stronger than curiosity. But then he remembered the king's challenge and his nearing failure. He realized his pride was worth nothing if he could not face truth. Slowly, trembling with shame, he took the bowl and drank. The wise man watched silently. Then, with a calm voice, he said, "Now you are ready." He spoke the 3 answers, each one striking like thunder in the quiet room. "The greatest truth," he said, "is death. Everything else in this world may change, power, wealth, love, beauty, but death is certain. It is the one truth that never deceives. The greatest deception," he continued, "is life itself, the worldly life. It tempts us with colors, pleasures, and illusions. We chase shadows, thinking they are treasures. This is the lie we all fall for, believing the temporary to be eternal. And the deepest compulsion," the wise man said, looking into the advisor's eyes, "is need and greed. These are the forces that make a person bow before others, that strip them of dignity, that make them do what they once thought impossible. The moment you drank from the dog's bowl, you proved it. Need can make even the proudest man surrender his pride. The advisor lowered his head, ashamed but awakened. He now understood what no book could teach. Before he left, the wise man added softly, "Remember, the purest form of faith is sincerity. Do good not for show, not for reputation, not for applause. Do it because it is right, because your heart is clean. On the day of judgment, only sincerity will matter." He continued, "The one whom God loves most is the one who depends on none but Him, who neither begs from people nor performs for them. Live without false pride. Be pure in intention and be honest in action. That is the way to peace." The advisor bowed deeply and left the hut. He had come searching for wisdom and left with something far greater, humility. When he returned to the palace, he no longer cared for the reward. The kingdom, the wealth, the power, all seemed small compared to what he had gained. When the king asked for the answers, the advisor spoke them calmly and clearly. The king was moved, but he saw that the man who had returned was no longer the same. The advisor had entered the forest as a servant of pride and left it as a servant of truth, and that, my friends, is how a single act of humility opened the door to wisdom, and how the answer to life's three greatest questions lies not in the mind, but in the heart that has learned to bow.